Have you ever had a day where everything feels perfectly aligned? The sun bathes your backyard in a warm, golden glow, a soft breeze dances through the leaves, and the only sound is the soothing hum of your pool pump, cycling water like the heartbeat of your sanctuary. That hum was the anthem of my retirement, the underscore to a quiet life I'd earned in Fairmont Hills, just outside Raleigh. I was lounging on my patio, an iced tea sweating on the wrought iron table beside me, a book open in my lap that I had no real intention of reading. I was simply soaking in the peace. My wife, Clara, God rest her soul, would have cherished a day like this. She chose this lot, saying, "Henry, this is where we'll let the world slow down." For a few precious years, we did just that. But on this particular afternoon, the pump's hum was interrupted by a sharp, rhythmic clack 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 hard-soled sandals on the sidewalk, approaching my property with the brazen confidence that always signals trouble. I didn't need to look up to know who it was. Margaret Conway, my neighbor, my self-appointed overseer, the dictator of an imaginary neighborhood standards committee that existed solely in her restless mind. I'm a patient man. 40 years as a civil engineer, designing bridges and managing sprawling public works projects, taught me that temper tantrums don't solve problems. You tackle them with meticulous planning, precise execution, and a deep understanding of the system's framework. Anger is a waste. A well-crafted plan is a masterpiece. Clara used to call my patience glacial. So I sat still, sipping my tea deliberately, letting the cold glass linger on my lips, turning a page in my book for show. The clacking stopped at my property line, where my pristine lawn met the public sidewalk. I felt her glare like a spotlight. "Henry." Margaret's voice grated like gravel under tires, starting shrill and ending in a low rasp. I let the silence stretch, making her bake in the North Carolina sun. Finally, I closed my book, keeping my finger as a bookmark, and turned to face her. "Margaret," I said evenly. "Good afternoon." She stood there, hands on hips, in a neon orange tennis skirt and a visor that looked like a prow. Her face, always twisted in disapproval, was especially venomous today. "Your pump," she declared, jabbing a bony finger at my pool equipment, "is making a racket." I listened to the gentle hum, unchanged for 6 years. "It's a pump, Margaret," I replied. "That's the sound of it working. It's supposed to hum." "It's disruptive," she snapped, as if she'd spotted a crack in a dam. "It ruins the neighborhood's serenity." I scanned the tranquil scene. A bird chirped, a distant lawnmower purred, my pump hummed. Serenity seemed intact unless we were all in a trance. "It's well within city decibel limits and HOA bylaws, Article 7, Section C, Paragraph 2, I said. That froze her. She loathed when I cited the bylaws she worshipped, like waving a torch at a dragon. Her eyes blinked, recalibrating for a new assault. Margaret thrived on conflict. For 7 years, since I moved into Fairmont Hills, she'd targeted me with complaints. My mailbox's unapproved charcoal color, standard USPS black. My hedge's excessive half-inch height, trimmed weakly with a level. My newspaper once landing an inch onto her side of our shared property line. Each time, I countered with calm, factual rebuttals, leaving her fuming but retreating only to return with a fresh grievance. It was a tiresome waltz, but I led it masterfully. "Actually," she said, recovering, "that's not why I'm here." The pump was a feint. Now came the real strike. "My grandson, Ethan, is having his high school graduation party this Saturday." "That's wonderful," I said sincerely. I had no quarrel with the kid, who seemed decent enough. "Yes," she puffed up. "A major event. Friends, family from Charlotte, important colleagues from my husband's firm. Nearly 80 guests. Sounds lively," I said, reaching for my tea. Then she dropped the bomb that sparked a chain of events leading to a drained pool, a public showdown, and the most exquisitely legal revenge I've ever orchestrated. "Exactly," she said, her smile sharp as a blade. "Which is why we'll need your pool." My glass froze halfway to my lips. I lowered it slowly. "Excuse me," I said, certain I'd misheard. Her smile widened, radiating entitlement. "It's a pool party, Henry. Our yard's too cramped with catering tents and tables. For the neighborhood's sake, to ensure the event's success and reflect well on Fairmont Hills, we'll host the swimming at your pool." She didn't ask, she decreed, standing on public pavement, never once invited onto my land, announcing that 80 strangers would invade my haven in 3 days for the neighborhood's sake. I stared, my engineer's brain shifting from patience to a colder, sharper focus. The pump's hum now sounded like a ticking fuse. To grasp why her demand hit like a sledgehammer, you need context. This wasn't a quirky neighborly request. It was the pinnacle of 7 years of calculated harassment, delivered with a smirk that could sour cream. When Clara and I moved here, we were the only black family on Primrose Lane, a cul-de-sac of affluent, older white families with deep roots and deeper bank accounts. We didn't care about fitting in. We loved the house, which I'd helped design, and Clara's pride was our backyard. A saltwater pool, flagstone patio, and lush gardens with azaleas and magnolias. It was our Eden. At first, neighbors were cordial, offering waves or small talk. Then Margaret struck. Her opening salvo was over grass clippings. I'd mowed my lawn, and a few specks landed on her driveway. That evening, she rang my bell, holding a dustpan with a pinch of grass. "Henry, this is yours," she said, her voice dripping with faux concern. "We all must keep our shared spaces pristine." I took the dustpan, thanked her gravely, and shut the door, knowing this was war. She escalated. If my sister, a professor from Durham, parked her Lexus too long, Margaret called the non-emergency police line, reporting a suspicious vehicle. The first time, a young officer apologized profusely. After the third, dispatch recognized her number and brushed her off. Then came the garbage cans. HOA rules allowed cans out at 6 p.m. The night before pickup, retrieved by 6 p.m. Pickup day. Once, I forgot after an early appointment, returning at 6:20 p.m. to find a grainy photo of my cans at 6:17 p.m. with a note. Clear violation, Section 9, Paragraph D. Some value the rules preventing neighborhood decline. Her cans were still out. Clara wanted to confront her, but I held firm. You don't wrestle a snake, Clara. You stay clean and wait. My strategy was relentless politeness, documenting every interaction, building a paper trail for a foe like Margaret. The worst came a year before Clara's passing. She'd planted a stunning rose garden, her favorite a vibrant peace rose. One day, we found it snapped, blooms wilted on the ground. No animal tracks, just a scuff on a border stone-hard soled, deliberate. That evening, Margaret strolled by, cooing, "What a pity about your rose. Squirrels are such pests, aren't they?" Her triumphant smirk revealed her cruelty. She wasn't just a nuisance. She was a bitter woman who resented a black man thriving where she felt he didn't belong. My peace was her enemy, my home a daily rebuke to her control. So when she demanded my pool, it wasn't a request, it was an assault on my sanctuary, Clara's legacy, and my right to exist. As I met her smug gaze, my glacial patience cracked, not into rage, but into a precise, engineer's resolve to dismantle her world. Silence hung heavy after her proclamation. The pump's hum mocked me. "Let me be clear, Margaret," I said, locking eyes. "You're not using my pool. Not for Ethan's party, not ever. This is my private property." Her smile wavered, disbelief flickering. "Don't be unreasonable, Henry," she patronized. "It's logistics. We need space. You have it. It's for the neighborhood's reputation. How does surrendering my privacy to 80 strangers benefit the neighborhood?" I countered. "It thrives on respect for boundaries, something you barely grasp." Her face hardened. "It's about appearances, Henry. We have VIPs, the Hendersons from the golf club, my husband's boss. A grand party at the Conway residence elevates us all, showing Fairmont Hills as a cooperative, elite community." I nearly laughed. My pool wasn't mine but a prop for her social climb. With racial undertones screaming, the cooperative neighbor was the black man who obeyed. "Margaret," I said, leaning forward, "my pool isn't a public park or your backyard. It's the heart of my home, built with Clara for peace. Your entitlement is insulting." "Insulting?" she gasped theatrically. "Your selfishness is insulting. I'm planning a milestone for my grandson, uplifting our street, and you're obstructing it. You barely use that pool, just sitting there, wasting it." That stung. My quiet moments by Clara's pool, a waste because they weren't loud enough for her? "My property's use isn't your call," I said, voice now steel. "The answer is no, today and forever. Clear. You'll regret this," she hissed, face blotchy. I'm on the architectural review committee. I have pull. There are ways to handle uncooperative neighbors. A threat, pathetic but revealing. Is that so? I asked calmly. It's a promise, she spat. Saturday, 1 p.m., that gate better be open. We'll bring towels. She clacked away, convinced she'd won. I watched, tea forgotten, the pumps hum now a war drum. My usual polite resistance wouldn't do. You don't negotiate with a tidal wave. You fortify and strike back. A plan took shape, methodical, legal, and deliciously just. Margaret didn't accept defeat. She saw a no as a challenge, launching a psychological blitz to break me. By Wednesday, her whispering campaign began. I was trimming hedges when Mrs. Larson, usually chatty, crossed the street, avoiding me. Later, I saw Margaret in her yard with Larson and Mr. Whitaker, gesturing toward my house, feigning distress. She was spinning a tale of me as the curmudgeonly recluse ruining Ethan's big day, framing my privacy as anti-community. By Thursday, my walks felt like navigating a minefield. Neighbors averted eyes, conversations hushed. Social pressure was her weapon, betting I'd cave to avoid ostracism. It stung, but Clara's words echoed. Your dignity isn't up for vote. I doubled down. Thursday afternoon, her coup de grace arrived. A petition tucked in my door, titled Community Call for Cooperation. It described her community-enhancing party and space constraints, urging me, Henry Jackson, to allow my underused pool's use for all's benefit. 8 signatures. Larson, Whitaker, the timid couple across the street stared back. She'd gone door to door, weaponizing lies to form a suburban mob. Rage simmered, but her threat about the Architectural Review Committee sparked a memory. Last spring, her husband, Paul, built a large gazebo in their yard, ornate, shingled, unmissable. Had they gotten approval? My engineer's brain locked onto the flaw in her fortress. Friday, I acted. I emailed the HOA management, posing as a homeowner planning a landscaping project, requesting 18 months of architectural approval records for inspiration. No mention of Margaret, just a routine query. Then, I planned for the pool. Locking the gate was too tame. I needed a spectacle. Draining 20,000 gallons would take hours, but screamed defiance. I'd rather render it useless than let her touch it. At 8 a.m. Saturday, I attached a hose to the pump's waste valve, ran it to the street drain, and flipped the switch. Water gushed out, the pool's level dropping steadily. By 11:30 a.m., it was a shallow puddle, the deep end bare. I draped a garish blue tarp over it, creating a desolate void, and wore a crisp green polo, sitting by the pool with tea and book, waiting. The HOA's reply came Friday afternoon. PDFs of approvals. None for a gazebo at 114 Primrose Lane. Margaret, the rule enforcer, had flouted her own bylaws. My complaint was drafted with surgical precision, citing Article 5, Section 2, detailing the gazebo's specs, and attaching high-resolution photos from my office window, capturing the structure amid her chaotic party. I printed it on bond paper, sealed it in a manila envelope, and planned its delivery. Taped to her front door, a public scarlet letter. At 1:05 p.m. Saturday, my gate clicked open. Ethan, Margaret's grandson, appeared, clutching towels, eyes kind but uneasy. Mr. Jackson, he ventured. Congratulations, Ethan, I said warmly. His gaze hit the tarp. Is the pool closed for maintenance? I said smoothly. Main drain leak. Had to drain it. Terrible timing for your party. His face fell, sensing the truth. I'll tell Grandma, he mumbled, fleeing. Minutes later, flip-flops slapped frantically. Margaret burst in a blinding pink swimsuit and floppy hat, phone in hand, face scarlet. She gaped at the tarp, speechless. Margaret, you seem upset, I said, feigning concern. What have you done? She shrieked, voice piercing. My guests are in swimsuits. It's a leak, I said, earnest. Noticed it this morning. Had to drain 20,000 gallons to check the drain. Costly fix. She knew I was lying, but couldn't call it out without exposing her bullying. A leak? On my party day, she spat. You're a spiteful, selfish man. Let's be clear, I said, dropping the act. Your party isn't my burden. You demanded my pool, smeared me when I refused, and expected it open. Your arrogance sabotaged itself. She dialed the HOA president, Tom, Ranting, Henry drained his pool to ruin my party. I locked the gate behind her, forcing her to climb the fence in her swimsuit in undignified retreat as her wails faded. While her party collapsed, I taped my complaint to her front door, a stark accusation no guest could miss. By 6 p.m., her street was silent, her triumph dead. Monday, the HOA acknowledged my complaint, scheduling it for the board meeting. At the meeting, Margaret and Paul sat up front, her in drab gray, face taut. Tom read my letter, showed my photos. No approval exists for this gazebo, he said. Paul admitted they forgot to apply. Margaret raged. It's a vindictive attack. But a board member countered. You've always demanded rule enforcement, Margaret. We can't have double standards. The board voted. $500 fine, $50 daily until the gazebo's removed or approved, and Margaret's forced resignation from the committee. Her power was gutted. Weeks later, workmen dismantled the gazebo, leaving a bald patch of grass. Margaret became a ghost, avoiding me, her influence gone. Neighbors warmed up. Larson brought muffins, an unspoken apology. On my patio, pool refilled, the pump's hum was peace again. Clara would have been proud. I didn't stoop to Margaret's level. I sank hers with precision. Justice wasn't loud, it was the quiet click of rules snapping shut on their loudest enforcer. My home is mine, my dignity intact. Sometimes, standing your ground means draining the pool and reading the fine print. Have you faced a neighborhood tyrant? Share below, I'd love to know I'm not alone.